Hi and welcome to this video. Spiritual awakenings. I have a whole series about spiritual awakenings, the different phases, the different stages, what this is about, what this stage is all about, and how we experience them, how we go through the stages, how we come on the other side of it. And I noticed I haven't explained at all what a spiritual awakening can be as an experience. Let's dive into that. Hi, this is Elena, and I hope you enjoy this channel. Please subscribe and hit the bell notification so you can receive notifications when I upload material and videos like this one. And please make sure you check the meditations as well. I think they will be helpful in many ways. They have been from the feedback I've been receiving. And if you feel drawn to working with me, you can find through my website the calendar links I have on the description box and the description of my channel. You can please find me and let's get things moving on in some ways. So, spiritual awakenings, what kind of experiences can be these spiritual awakenings? Literally anything. And I will start with the negative usual experiences we have as a spiritual awakening and how we can use that to our benefit. It can be a health issue, something that happened in your physical body in a huge way where it made you stop from everything else. Press pause and really focus on yourself and getting well, healing yourself. And that is the most common factor. Something goes wrong health wise, and we try to figure out why this showed up, why this is happening, and why now. And where's the conflict in my body that shows as a physical ailment, an issue that I have to solve in my physical everyday life. From physical health issues, it can be anything as a spiritual awakening. Anything. Literally every disease is a conflict of energy in your body. And that means that it has been in your emotional body, in your aura, it has been in your mental body, it has been in your spiritual body, it can be in all of your bodies, and the conflict that shows up in your physical body is kind of the last stage where, hey, buddy, you can't keep going the same way you have been going so far. That is the sign. Okay, when you take it as such, you can reflect in a different way of why and how the healing can move on, go on, and of course, you can help yourself in a different way. That said, we are not stopping from using classic medicine. We are not stopping ourselves from having exams or the right procedures or the right medication for what is needed. That means that I will use what I have available at my disposal, and at the same time, I have to do some reflection work, some self observation. Usually, having that with someone else, not on your own, helps massively. Okay, leaving that aside. And I'm coming from a space of having processed something myself in the past, some years ago, and realizing that, that's not how it works, okay? So, health issues, death, and obviously it's not yours. So, what I'm saying with this, when someone close to you is crossing, is passing over, okay, the that is an awakening experience because we are going through the grief, we are going through the questions of why, what does that mean, and why it happened. Could it have gone differently? What does it say about me? How do I feel about this death in my life? And of course, the old spiritualists used to believe that there is a huge factor when someone crosses over from a close person of yours, parents, I hope not, children, in whatever way you experience the death process of a loved one. It is an awakening experience of us, and unfortunately, there are still some spiritualists that believe that, especially about parents, which is not the case, obviously. Awakenings come in many shapes, in many forms. It doesn't mean that someone has to die from your family so you can awaken. And I keep insisting on that because it has left a bad taste in my mouth when I heard it from people nowadays, these contemporary times. How can I say it differently? And the thing is that when we are losing a loved one that is close to us, we are getting into a space of reflecting, of feeling the connection with them, of asking many questions: why this, why that, or it didn't feel fair, or it didn't feel that I did the best, or there was a mistake done in the process of that person's health and everything involved in that space. So there's always that question, even if someone of the loved ones, from your loved ones, is going through a health issue, that is also spiritual awakening. Not only an issue that you might have gone through or going through, but also a close person to you that is going through a health crisis. This can be an awakening experience, and I will explain later on why these are awakening experiences spiritually always. I'm looking at my notes. So there are many other changes happening in our lives. When you lose a job, when you get fired, when you leave a job because it had become too overwhelming, or because everything around you in that workspace was suffocating you in some ways, or it was overwhelming for you, or you took a lot of responsibilities on, or they gave you a lot of responsibilities on, that is also a spiritually awakening process, or it can be. And I will explain on that too. Financial breakdowns. That is also something that brings us to our knees, and we think and we start feeling that this is not okay. I want a better life for myself. What have I done wrong so far? What brought me to this point? What makes me feel like this? And why don't I have even the basics that others have? What makes me feel like I have to build my life from scratch, and losing everything and finding the strength to rebuild everything from scratch? This is also a spiritually awakening experience. Of course, divorce, breakups from long-term relationships and marriages, even when it comes to friendships, even when it comes to the connections within the family, any kind of connection that was going and going and going, and we never stop to reflect with each other where I am, where you are, and what is not okay for me. And we have tolerated stuff, we have accepted stuff as normal, and we got into a space of keeping moving on, keep going, keep moving on, keep going in the same way, in the same direction, and nothing actually happened in the right way for me or you. And we woke up one day and everything was a mess around us, and we didn't like what we had, so now we have to break up. And of course, breakups don't happen because we didn't have time. We didn't take time to reflect with each other and see where we are and where we are headed, if we like what we have, what kind of changes we want to have, because that is something that happens with every connection in our lives. The process of not recognizing that you can change and the other person changes too, and we have to find a new foundation for us to be with each other. This is what brings usually the distance that is later on manifested as a breakup or as a divorce, or as we have to take our separate ways, even within family dynamics. You can find people that they are not speaking with their families because they don't feel they belong there, because there's too much bad blood in it, and we didn't have the opportunity, but not even the base, the foundation of working through that and out of that. And that's also fine. But we have all these negative, I can say challenging for sure, the challenging experiences that we go through, where we have to stop, reflect, and see another part of truth and light, the truth we hold within us, the light we hold within us, for the life we are living. So spiritual awakening experiences are mostly based so far in challenging situations. And I say that because we have learned that through difficulties and through challenges, we are moved from our position, from our place. If I don't have something that challenges me, I won't be able to make next steps. And that is again a huge limiting belief, a conditioning that is ingrained for many eons, for many of us. And it's not about incarnation, reincarnation, past lives. It's a collective program we all run in our systems. Now, my point with all this? It's that we have the tendency to save the day, to save the situation, to save the connection, to save my job, to save my marriage, to save this, to save that, because if I feel that I'm saving it, I'm doing something good for myself. And that is not what is working. This is why it becomes more challenging as an experience. This is why it becomes harder and more impossible to navigate in real life, because I'm trying to save something that I have to allow to collapse, or I have to collapse it myself, and I have to get into a space of reflecting on myself, with my actions, with my thoughts, with my intentions of what I wanted, where I ended up, why the situation in my life, what needs to change within myself, what didn't I recognize. And if it is a job, it's okay, because yes, we count on our jobs, day jobs, the salary, the money we get out of it. We count our lives on that, and we build a foundation that is based on the job that I will always have, forever have, and so on and so forth. And then you get to wake up one day to think that, hey, there's something wrong in this system that I have created for myself, or that I'm counting on, and it's not working anymore for me. And usually this tendency of keeping things as they are is what creates an awakening experience for us. You see, when I'm trying to make something work and I'm looking around, so I'm trying to make this pen work and it doesn't work, but I insist on making it work. And it's not that it's over, okay? It's not finished as whatever it is in it, okay? But it should be working and it's not working. And I'm trying my everything to make it work, okay? And my effort, my energy, I'm putting it on making this work is what makes it most challenging, because I'm using resistance of understanding, accepting that this is not working for me, or I'm trying to impose to myself that I like how this pen writes, okay, how it moves, how I hold it. I try to impose something on myself, and I don't understand that, okay, this worked for me for a couple of years. Now I have to find a different pen that works better for me. Yeah, all my pens are open, as you see on my desk, always ready to write. So, in that space, instead of forcing things, we have to allow things to change. We have to allow ourselves to change. When I get a mindset, a belief of this is how life is, I have to have a successful marriage, I have to have a successful job, I have to have this and I have to have that, with the norms of the society, with the norms of my family, or I always wanted to be a doctor because no one would take care of their health in my family, and I remember the dream I had to make them feel well. Okay, it's a beautiful way of finding your path, being activated through all of these experiences in your life. But when we create that resistance of saving the day constantly, of making things happen, of constantly being in a success mode, in a mode that we do something every single moment of the day, and we may want to have things controlled in a good way, everything and everyone is placed at their position, everything is fine, and I should get along with everyone, and I should be okay with everyone. All of these things are creating these experiences where your spirit has to wake up. You have to allow the tower moment, as we usually use as a term. Tower moments, collapse things, allow things to collapse, allow yourself to change your mind on your job, on your connections, allow yourself to feel the feelings that are happening through our interactions with each other, through the experiences we are having every day, moment to moment, and day to day, and allow things to change for yourself. You see, people, some are, after some spiritual awakenings, in the flow of things. And you see them in their highest timeline, and you see them happy and condensed, okay? And you see them in a different flow of creativity, and you say, I want to be that. I want to have that. I want to experience that. Yes, you're going to experience that. The more you get to be in alignment with yourself, the more you get to be in a space of allowing everything to be collapsed and truly listen to yourself. When I'm trying to keep everything at a good space, everyone at a good space, this goes against myself because there is another need behind that that motivates me to do that, to be that person for everyone else. Now, if you sit back and reflect in your life, all the connections you have, all the things that went sideways, whatever happened in your life, one way or another that made you feel disappointed, frustrated, sad with the results of it, or how your value wasn't recognized, how you got a husband out of nowhere and that husband doesn't appreciate you enough, or reminds you that there's some similarity with my parents. We play out the same scenario. What is going on? If you don't stop to reflect on those, you are gonna get more experiences that will help you awaken to who you are. So for me, spiritual awakenings, although they are challenging in many, many ways, they get to be the most amazing thing of all because we are awakening to who we are, to what we are doing in our lives, that this is not in alignment with me. So I have to unbecome of who I thought I was actually, of what I thought I should be fulfilling as a role in my life and become who I truly am. And having described all these negative experiences or mostly challenging experiences in spiritual awakenings that put us in a space that we have to figure out something. And what is that? It depends on the situation, depends on how I feel misaligned within myself. This is what I have to figure out because everything is a reflection of the conflict that exists within me, that I'm not listening to the inner voice that keeps speaking to me and telling me that I don't like this job. Okay, I don't like this, I don't like that, I don't like the connection we share because I feel that you're not respecting me enough, even if it is subtle. I have to speak up, I have to create different energy for myself that I want to be respected in the way this, and that makes sense to me, not in the way you think you respect me. So, having been challenged from all of these different situations in our lives, what that pushes us to do is to find a different perspective of viewing life, viewing our truth, viewing what is happening around us, what is changing, what is shifting, what is truly calling us to do and be. When we get into that different space, and that happens through questions, I'm asking questions and I'm asking for more in life. This is the most common thing. There's more to life. I want to figure out what else is out there. There must be more. This is not life. This is not the life I came here to experience. So, all these questions are triggering different energies to come and find you and give you more answers and give you a different perspective of how to view yourself, how to explore your truth, how to disengage from situations that are not meant to be for you or that you have outgrown these situations. Most of the times we can't even realize that I've outgrown this, I've outgrown that, I have outgrown this as well. So I must be experiencing something else. I must be desiring something else because this has become too boring, or it's not anymore for me, or I've lived everything I could have lived in this situation. So I need something else now. I need something different in my life. Even if I don't know what that is, that's another thing we have with ourselves when we are experiencing spiritual awakenings. I know that this is something I don't want anymore, but because I'm afraid of what else is out there, I'm afraid that there won't be something better out there for me, I'm gonna stay with this. I'm fine with this. This is what we are doing to ourselves. Or I have found a situation that works for me, but it's beneficial in some ways. It's easy. It's something that I'm constantly doing as a habit every day, and I don't have to figure out something new. So I'm gonna stay with that. I'm okay staying with that because it feels okay, and because I don't want to exhaust myself of figuring out something else. All these ways of thinking are what create a stagnant energy that your soul is calling you to overcome. And this is why we call them spiritual awakenings. Our spirits have to awaken to what our souls are saying to us, and we have to keep going in the flow of what feels right, exciting, what feels appropriate in some ways for us, even if it is difficult for us to detach from what we already have created over here, from getting out of our comfort zones and figuring out, okay, how to do things from now on, and what else should I be claiming for. And you know what is more paradoxical? When you have gone through some spiritual awakenings and you think, oh wow, I am awakened, because that happens, you get into a space, okay, now I have this whole beautiful new world that is amazing. And of course, there comes a point where you have to you have outgrown that space as well, and you have to open up to something new. And even in that space, you may be feeling fear, doubt. You may be saying, oh, yeah, I'm fine here. I'm gonna stay here. That space that I am kind of awakened and I have found my new steps, I'm gonna stay here. And then something else comes and challenges you in order to move on from that space as well. You see a lot of images saying, I had to make you uncomfortable to make you move. The universe. No, it's not the universe. It's your higher self. It's your soul that is inviting you to do something new and something more in alignment with you, because that thing you've outgrown was just a step of the process, just a small part of the journey you are part of in the bigger picture of it. And you have to get into a space of understanding how to let go, how, when to let go, why to let go, even if it is just an intuitive feeling, even if it is a feeling that this thingy is not enough anymore, is not satisfactory enough, it's not exciting enough. So I have created these things. Now I have to collapse them again and move on to the next step, to the next cycle of things. So spiritual awakenings, in other words, are cycles where you figure out the conflict, you figure out the journey, the joy of exploring this new cycle. You have explored everything, and there comes a point that this feels easy enough that you have to allow yourself to step out of this cycle and get to the new cycle of exploring more and more and more. And don't think that's easier. Even if you have gone through a numerous amount of spiritual awakenings and you get to be, I know what to do. No, there's always another level of being, of expanding, of awakening. And it can stop to the level that your soul feels fulfilled or that this is enough. Mine doesn't feel that enoughness yet. So I keep exploring, I keep dissolving, I keep collapsing things and situations in my life. And usually, most of the times, this happens energetically through the beliefs I hold, through the emotions I hold for situations, for things, for people. And we go through these awakenings in order to expand to our true connection with our soul. It's not that someone will say to you, that's enough. You can get as far as this point, so now that's okay. Which is interesting. So the key in all of this is being in the flow, and when you find something that feels as a misalignment, you get to allow yourself to feel into the new alignment, the true alignment that is true to you in the current moment. Not in 6 months, not 5 months before, not in 2 years from now, but in this moment. And usually our souls and higher selves are preparing us. They are giving us the heads up for most of the situations, not everything, because there are surprises in the journey, as always, as with everything. And with that said, finding the art of allowance within yourself. The art of allowance is allowing yourself to be true to yourself in the moment and to be your true self. And this is why my mantra, one of the many reasons at least, be true to yourself and be your true self, because that takes a lot out of us to just be that person without judgment on ourselves, without receiving wholeheartedly the judgment of others that is negative, okay? Because if something is positive, we are fine with that most of the times. Now, the other factor about spiritual awakenings, when we find ourselves in a different flow, spiritual awakenings can be very pleasant, can be very expansive, can be very beautiful. So I'm adding this because I want to create a detachment in your mind that the spiritual awakening experience is mostly negative. No, it's not. That is another conditioning we have created for ourselves, where you can find smooth transitions, which is a spiritual awakening, is through like minded people. That said, when you find yourself in a group where you expand yourself, when you are learning with others, doesn't mean that there will not be anything negative, challenging, or difficult between you and someone else. It only means that there will be situations where you learn and expand your spirit in many more different ways, pleasant ways, through understanding yourself and energy. And this is also why we say, and we believe, I believe at least, in a community where we are like minded people, not that we won't have challenges to figure out, but having figured out a huge part of us, it's easier to allow ourselves to expand in a different way, in a more beautiful and organic way, without having gone through the collapses that constantly happen, so we can rebuild something new. We can build something new without having everything collapsing around us. And this is where we are getting into as a new era of doing life, of being within ourselves. How we do that? By expanding our awareness to our sovereignty, to our soul's callings, from collapsing beliefs that are not anymore of use to us, and from allowing ourselves to be in that space of constantly expanding and expanding in the highest of alignments within ourselves. I hope this makes sense. And if you have found yourself in group settings or in places where it is okay to be yourself, you are allowed to be yourself, you have given permission to yourself to be yourself, and you enjoy that, and you take that in every way possible, you get to be in an expansive way that doesn't have to do with something negative. And this is what we are creating for ourselves at this point of time, each one of us, a new mindset, a new frequency of how it is okay to be yourself and to claim that fully and unapologetically in every aspect of your being. And the more we do that individually, the easier it comes to be when we are collectively gathering, even for small retreats, a few day retreats, when we are coming together in different ways and we get to be ourselves, the expansion that is taking place is huge. It is massive. It is easier. It is flowing better. We can be more ourselves of ourselves. And this is what you have to remember, that detaching from what is going on around you is helpful for you to create a container to be yourself regardless of everything else. And no, that's not possible every single moment of the day, every single day of your life, because these challenges will help you build more self-respect, more self-trust, better boundaries of what you tolerate, what you don't tolerate, and you're getting to be in a space of embracing yourself regardless of everything else. The more you give to yourself permission to be who you are, the easier it becomes for you to be that without running in your thoughts what they think of me, what they say of me, and this and that. I hope this resonates with you. Please remember that whatever you are experiencing or having experienced in the past, it is an awakening experience It is an activation to figure out the new version of you, what wasn't in alignment with you, and created that conflict now, and how you can integrate these changes without having to go through all the emotional turbulences involved with that and everything else. And that said, of course, we are getting into a space of allowing things to happen in a different way than ever before. We are embracing who we are without guilt, without shame. Having worked a lot on ourselves gives us the freedom, and I say that, and I pause because it's a huge thing for each and everyone's of us, one of us, either we understand it or not, the inner freedom that depicts outside in our lives as well. And it brings a huge shift in our realities. I hope it resonates. Please let me know in the comments if you have any questions, if you find this easy to understand, if you can reflect in your life with these experiences. And no, it's not always easy because emotional trauma happens. And that's another key point I wanted to add, that just because we are awakening spiritually to more of how energy works, of who we are, how trauma happens, how this happens, how everything goes sideways, it doesn't mean that traumatic experiences won't be happening. It means that we are becoming more aware of those experiences while they're happening. It's faster for us to release our emotions and what these experiences are creating in us. It's easier to find a new perspective, faster, easier, more integrated in receiving life exactly as it is without more resistance in us. It doesn't mean that everything will be love, light, flowers, birds singing, and music that came from anywhere, nowhere actually. Yeah, I wish it was like that, to be honest with you. But truth to be told, we are becoming more aware, and that awareness that builds up of awareness of who we are, what is happening now, what am I experiencing now, what is the misalignment, let me make that correction, let me change that in myself, let me figure out what am I doing unconsciously in this space. That makes things easier until we get into a space that we find ourselves of navigating life without having these traumatic experiences. So, this is the training that is taking place through many spiritual awakenings. And for those of you who think you have figured out life, please be open. Please be open to awaken more to who you truly are and how truly energy works, because when I get into a space of thinking, believing that I have figured out everything, there is a huge slap that comes in from the higher self, not from spirit guides, not from someone else around me, but from my higher self that humbles me to open up and explore more of life. That's all it is. Okay, we don't need more of these slaps. We need more awareness of being present and expansive in the way that means something to us, following what makes our hearts sing, and how we can realize a lot more in life. Usually, we say spiritual awakenings and we believe that it will be like an epiphany that took place. That happens too, but it's not the only thing that happens. Most of the times, we have to expand our awareness to understand why this situation, how it hurt me, what left as an imprint in my energy, how it made me feel afraid of this or avoidant in that way from life, avoidant in specific situations in life or people. So I have to understand myself and give some permission to myself to experience life in a different way. So, yes, we are great manifestors, we are great creators of life. Until we get to realize what kind of creators we are going through awakenings to understand and expand awareness in realizing that. I hope this makes sense. And I'm pretty sure there are a couple of more things that I haven't covered in overall about spiritual awakenings. We covered negative situations, positive situations, what is the tendency we have to keep everything together, what helps in those awakenings is usually reflection, curiosity, understanding that no one is punishing you, you're not a victim here. Yes, it is painful. Yes, we need to show compassion and self love and understanding to ourselves of what we are going through in these situations. We have to expand in a different way to understand how life works, how energy works, how ourselves work in these systems we have been part of, and how we can create something better for ourselves. Being curious in that way helps. That said, doesn't mean that you won't mourn, you won't grieve, you won't go through all the stages of emotions that are happening to you, that are happening for you, because these emotions and these stages are expansive for you. And this is why we say the dark night of the soul. The soul knows where it is guiding us. We have to catch up with that, our spirits, and we have to be aware of everything we found, everything we have to declutter from our space, inner space, and everything we have to allow to be in that space. I hope it makes sense. Please listen to the rest of the videos on this series of spiritual awakenings if you haven't. They are more spiritually based, energetically based, with the emotions we are going through, what each state means, and how we declutter ourselves in that space. I think it will be extra helpful in many ways. Love you. Let me know in the comments of what this means for you if you are going now a spiritual awakening experience. I think we haven't stopped going through those, and we realize a different part of the truth, our truth, of the system that is created, because at the end of the day, we are the creators of that whole system we are participating, until we realize that, oh, holy cow, I am creating this movie, I am living this movie, I have written this movie, so let me take my power back and rewrite a better scenario for myself in a most aligned way for me. And even that is a process. We write, we erase, we write again, we erase everything, and we create our own recipes in that space, our own scenarios, and our own movies in overall. So I hope this resonates, and I hope it brings more clarity in what you are experiencing or have experienced in the past. And let me know in the comments. As always, be true to yourself and be your true self. And everything is energy. See you in the next videos.